Maria's lips barely moved as champagne glasses shattered somewhere behind her. "Please kiss me. My ex is watching." The stranger's dark eyes widened. For 3 seconds that felt like 3 years, he just stared at her. Then his hand slid to the back of her neck, warm and certain, and the entire gallery fell silent as his mouth claimed hers. When they broke apart, Maria's heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The man's thumb traced her jaw, his expression unreadable. Across the room, Trevor's smug smile had vanished completely. "Did I just help you, or did you just ruin my life?" the stranger whispered against her ear. Maria turned to look at him properly for the first time. Expensive suit. Dangerous eyes. A scar that cut through his left eyebrow like a signature of violence. "I'm Maria," she managed. "I know," he said. "Everyone here knows who you are now." The crowd was already whispering. Maria felt her stomach drop. What had she just done? If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button because this story gets darker than you think. 3 hours earlier, Maria had stood in her cramped Brooklyn studio apartment, zipping up a dress that cost more than her rent. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory as she studied herself in the mirror. "Mija, you're going to places I only cleaned." Her mother had worked as a restoration assistant at museums across the city for 30 years, scrubbing floors while masterpieces hung on walls she was barely allowed to touch. Now Maria was the lead art authenticator for the Castelliano Gallery, about to attend the most important exhibition of her career. She'd authenticated a supposed Caravaggio that afternoon. If she was right, the gallery stood to make $17 million. If she was wrong, her reputation would be destroyed before it even began. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Simone. "You're going to be amazing. Don't let Trevor get in your head." Trevor. Maria's chest tightened. Trevor, who'd dated her for 2 years while she worked her way through graduate school. Trevor, who'd promised to introduce her to gallery directors, then took credit for her discoveries. Trevor, who'd dumped her 3 months ago for someone with a trust fund and a last name that opened doors. Trevor, who would definitely be at tonight's exhibition. Maria applied lipstick with a shaking hand. Brooklyn girl in Manhattan couture. That's what her mother would call this. The dress was borrowed. The shoes were borrowed. Even the confidence was borrowed from some version of herself she hoped existed. The gallery was downtown, all marble floors and soaring ceilings. Maria arrived fashionably late, which was really just regular late with better lighting. She stepped into a room that smelled like money and champagne and the particular anxiety of people pretending they understood art. "Maria, there you are." Richard Castelliano, the gallery owner, rushed over with a glass in each hand. He pressed one into her palm. "Everyone wants to meet the woman who found our Caravaggio. You're the star tonight." Maria's smile felt plastered on. "I just did my job." "Nonsense. You have an eye that most people spend careers trying to develop. You're going to change everything for us." Richard squeezed her shoulder, then disappeared into the crowd to charm potential buyers. Maria sipped her champagne and tried to look like she belonged. The problem was that everyone else actually did belong. They had family money or art history degrees from Yale or both. Maria had student loans and a mother who taught her to see beauty in cracked paint and damaged frames because broken things deserved love too. Well, look who made it to the big leagues. Maria's whole body went rigid. She turned slowly. Trevor stood 3 feet away, looking exactly like he always did, handsome and cruel and so sure of his place in the world that he never questioned whether he deserved it. "Trevor. Hi." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "That's quite the dress." His eyes traveled over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "Finally figured out that presentation matters in this industry?" Maria's grip tightened on her glass. "I've always known that. I just also know that substance matters more." "Does it?" Trevor stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Because word around town is that your Caravaggio authentication is shaky at best. Some people are even saying you got your position through means other than merit." The champagne turned sour in Maria's mouth. "What are you talking about? Come on, Maria. You went from nobody to Castelliano's lead authenticator in 6 months. People talk. They wonder what you did to get Richard's attention. Trevor's smile was poison. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Heat flooded Maria's face. Around them, conversations seemed to pause. Had people heard? Were they already judging her? That's not true and you know it, Maria said, but her voice wavered. Do I? Trevor's voice rose just enough. Because I remember you being pretty ambitious about networking when we were together. Always asking me for introductions, always trying to get close to the right people. Makes sense you'd keep using that strategy. Several people had definitely turned to watch now. Maria felt like she was drowning in marble and crystal and the weight of everyone's attention. This was Trevor's revenge. He was going to destroy her credibility in front of everyone who mattered. You're a liar, Maria said, but it came out weak. Am I? Or am I just the only one honest enough to say what we all know? That you slept your way to the top and now you're in over your head with an authentication you're not qualified to make? The room had definitely gone quiet now. Maria's vision blurred at the edges. She needed to say something cutting, something that would put Trevor in his place, but her brain had frozen. All she could feel was shame burning through her chest and the horrible knowledge that no matter what she said, some people would believe him. She stumbled backward, her heel catching on nothing, and collided hard with someone behind her. Strong hands caught her elbows, steadying her. Easy there. Maria turned. The man she'd crashed into was tall, dark-haired, maybe 35, with the kind of face that belonged on Roman coins. Sharp jaw, sharper eyes, and that scar cutting through his eyebrow that somehow made him more attractive instead of less. I'm so sorry, Maria gasped. But Trevor was still talking, getting louder. It's just disappointing, you know? To see someone fake their way through an industry that should value integrity. Something inside Maria snapped. Not the good kind of snap that leads to triumphant confrontations. The desperate kind that makes you do stupid things. She looked up at the stranger who'd caught her. His expression was unreadable, but his hands were still on her arms, steady and warm. Please kiss me, Maria whispered, so quietly she barely heard herself. My ex is watching and I need him to think I'm doing better than I am. The man's eyes widened. For a horrible moment, Maria thought he'd laugh at her or walk away. Then something shifted in his expression, something dangerous and amused. You sure about this? He murmured. No. But do it anyway. His hand slid to the back of her neck, fingers tangling in her hair. Maria's heart stopped. Then his mouth was on hers and the entire world narrowed to the heat of his lips and the champagne taste of him and the fact that, holy God, this stranger could kiss. It wasn't a polite kiss. It was possessive and thorough and made her knees weak. His other hand settled on her waist, pulling her closer, and Maria forgot this was fake. Forgot Trevor existed. Forgot her own name. When they broke apart, the gallery was dead silent. The man's thumb traced her jaw, his dark eyes searching hers. Did I just help you, or did you just ruin my life? He whispered. Maria blinked, trying to remember how breathing worked. She turned to look at him properly, really seeing him for the first time. The suit wasn't just expensive, it was custom. The watch on his wrist cost more than her student debt. And the way people around them had gone still wasn't just shock, it was fear. I'm Maria, she managed. I know. Everyone here knows who you are now. His voice was low, accent slight but present. Italian maybe. The crowd was whispering, a sound like wind through dead leaves. Maria's stomach dropped as reality crashed back in. She'd just kissed a complete stranger in front of New York's art elite. She'd used him as a prop in her pathetic attempt to one-up her ex. I'm sorry, Maria said. That was incredibly inappropriate. He was saying things and I wasn't thinking clearly, Anne. It's fine. The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Though you should probably know who I am before you use me to make your ex jealous. Who are you? Before he could answer, Richard Castellano appeared at Maria's elbow, his face pale. Mr. Concetto. I wasn't aware you'd arrived. If I'd known, I would have greeted you personally. Mr. Concetto. Maria's blood turned to ice. No. It couldn't be. The man, Concetto, kept his eyes on Maria. I prefer to observe before announcing myself. Your lead authenticator was just giving me a very warm welcome. Richard's laugh was nervous. Yes, well, Maria is certainly enthusiastic about her work. Perhaps we could discuss the Caravaggio in my office? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the piece. I'd rather hear hers. Concetto gestured to Maria. You authenticated it, correct? Maria nodded, not trusting her voice. Her mind was spinning. Concetto. She knew that name. Every art professional in New York knew that name, though most people spoke it in whispers. The Concetto family had controlled art imports in the Northeast for 3 generations. Officially, they were collectors and gallery owners. Unofficially, they were the reason stolen masterpieces moved through black markets. They were the reason provenance documents appeared or disappeared. They were the Mafia family that owned the art world's shadow economy. And Maria had just kissed their king. Dario Concetto, head of the family since his father's death 2 years ago. She'd read about him in art crime journals. Seen his photograph in newspapers, though it had been grainier, more distant. He'd been connected to at least a dozen investigations but never charged. Too smart. Too careful. Too dangerous. I should go, Maria said weakly. You should stay. Dario's hand was still on her waist, a touch that looked casual but felt like an anchor. You kissed me in front of 100 witnesses. We should at least pretend there's a reason. He was right. If she ran now, it would look even worse. Maria forced her spine straight and her voice level. The Caravaggio is authentic. I've verified the canvas, the pigments, the brushwork. It matches his work from the period in question. Confident. Dario's eyes gleamed. I like that. It's not confidence if it's just facts. Spoken like someone who's never had to defend facts to people determined not to believe them. Dario turned to Richard. We'll discuss business later. Right now, I'd like to steal your authenticator for a drink. It wasn't a request. Richard nodded quickly and disappeared. Maria found herself being guided through the crowd, Dario's hand firm on her lower back. People parted for them like he was Moses and they were the Red Sea. At the bar, Dario ordered whiskey neat for himself and another champagne for Maria. When the bartender brought their drinks, his hands shook slightly. Everyone was afraid of this man. Everyone except Maria had known to be afraid before touching him. So, Dario said conversationally, want to tell me why you really asked me to kiss you? Maria took a long drink. Temporary insanity? Try again. My ex was humiliating me in public. I panicked. You were there. It was stupid and I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Dario's expression was unreadable. Just understand that kiss wasn't free. Maria's stomach clenched. What does that mean? It means everyone here now thinks you're with me. They think you're under my protection. That has consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind where your ex won't bother you again. The kind where people will take you seriously in this industry. The kind where you can't just walk away and pretend this didn't happen. Maria set down her glass carefully. I didn't ask for protection. You asked for a kiss. In my world, that's the same thing. Dario leaned closer, his voice dropping. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay by my side for the rest of the night. We're going to act like we know each other. Tomorrow, you're going to have breakfast with me and we'll figure out how to handle this situation. Because Maria, that kiss just made you my responsibility whether either of us likes it or not. That's insane. That's reality. Dario's smile was sharp. Welcome to my world. Before Maria could respond, a gallery director approached nervously. Mr. Concetto, I wanted to discuss the Baroque collection we acquired last month. And just like that, Maria found herself pulled into conversations she should never have been part of. Gallery directors asked her opinion. Collectors complimented her work. Even Trevor kept his distance, his face pale and furious. Every time Maria tried to slip away, Dario's hand found her elbow or her waist, keeping her close. He wasn't rough about it. If anything, he was surprisingly gentle. But the message was clear, she wasn't leaving. An hour later, Maria's phone buzzed in her clutch. She glanced at it while Dario was distracted by a conversation about Renaissance bronzes. Unknown number. Careful who you pretend to belong to. Some men collect art. Others collect debts. You just became one. Maria's hand shook. She looked up, scanning the crowd. Who had sent that? And what did it mean? Problem? Dario materialized at her shoulder, reading her expression with unnerving accuracy. I just got a weird text. Show me. Maria hesitated, then handed him the phone. Dario's jaw tightened as he read. His thumb moved over the screen, doing something Maria couldn't see. I'm having it traced, he said, handing the phone back. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Someone just threatened me. Someone warned you. There's a difference. Dario's hand settled on her lower back, proprietary and protective. Which is why you're not going home alone tonight. Maria's eyes widened. Excuse me? Not like that. I'm having a driver take you home and wait outside your building until morning. Someone's clearly watching you. Until I know who and why, you're not taking chances. You can't just assign me a bodyguard. I can and I am. Dario's tone left no room for argument. You made yourself my problem when you kissed me. Now let me solve you. Maria wanted to argue, but fear prickled down her spine. That text hadn't been random. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she'd kissed Dario and didn't like it. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Dario kept her close, his presence both threatening and oddly comforting. When the exhibition finally ended, he walked her to a black town car idling at the curb. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. I'll send a car. Dario opened the door for her. I haven't agreed to breakfast. You will. Because you're smart enough to know you need my help now. Dario's smile was almost kind. Get some sleep, Maria. Tomorrow we figure out what happens next. The car pulled away from the curb. Maria watched Dario's reflection shrink in the side mirror, his hands in his pockets, utterly at ease. Like he owned the street and the night and possibly her future. Maria's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. You made a mistake tonight. Her hands shook as she typed back. Who is this? The response came immediately. Someone who knows what Dario Concetto does to things he collects. Maria's apartment building looked different when she arrived. Darker. Full of shadows that moved wrong. The driver, a silent man with a scar across his knuckles, walked her to her door and checked inside before leaving. He stationed himself in the lobby, visible through her window. Maria locked her door, kicked off the borrowed heels, and collapsed on her second-hand couch. What had she done? She'd kissed a mafia boss. She'd made herself visible to people who operated in shadows. She'd dragged herself into a world where art and crime blurred together and people sent threatening texts like love letters. Her phone rang. Simone. Girl, you need to tell me everything right now. I'm seeing photos of you kissing Dario Concetto and I'm losing my mind. Do you know who he is? I'm learning. Maria, he's dangerous. Like, actually dangerous. Not bad boy dangerous. Kills people dangerous. I know. Maria rubbed her temples. It was an accident. You accidentally kissed the head of the Concetto family? How does that happen accidentally? Maria explained. All of it. Trevor's humiliation, her panic, the kiss, the text messages. Simone listened without interrupting, which meant she was really worried. Okay, Simone said finally. Here's what you're going to do. Tomorrow you're going to that breakfast and you're going to politely explain that you made a mistake. You're going to thank him for his help and walk away. Clean break. No drama. He said I can't just walk away. Then you run. Maria, these aren't people you play games with. I love you, but you're in over your head. After they hung up, Maria tried to sleep. She couldn't. Every sound in the building felt sinister. Every car door outside made her jump. At 2 a.m., she gave up and opened her laptop. She searched for Dario Concetto. Found articles about art acquisitions. Charity galas. His photograph at museum openings, always in expensive suits, always alone. There were no interviews. No social media. He was a ghost who happened to own half the art world. She found one article from 5 years ago. A journalist had tried to investigate the Concetto family's business practices. The article mentioned smuggling, forgery, extortion. It ended abruptly, unfinished. The journalist had disappeared for 3 months, then resurfaced with a retraction and a sudden career change. Maria closed the laptop. Her hands were shaking again. At 8 the next morning, her doorbell rang. Maria, who'd finally fallen asleep around dawn, stumbled to the intercom. Yes. Car for Miss Rossi. Mr. Concetto is expecting you. Maria looked down at her pajamas. I need time to get ready. Take what you need. I'll wait. Maria showered, dressed in jeans and a sweater because she refused to pretend this was a real date, and headed downstairs. A different town car waited, this one with tinted windows. A different driver, same unreadable expression. They drove to the Upper East Side, stopping in front of a brownstone that probably cost more than Maria would earn in her lifetime. The driver opened her door. 5th floor. He's expecting you. The building had an elevator that required a key. Maria's key worked, which meant Dario had planned this. The doors opened directly into a penthouse apartment that looked like an art museum had a baby with a fortress. Dario stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. He wore jeans and a black t-shirt, somehow more intimidating without the suit. When he saw Maria, he ended the call. You came. Did I have a choice? You always have a choice. You just don't always have good ones. Dario gestured to a dining table set for 2. Hungry? Maria wasn't, but she sat anyway. The table held fresh fruit, pastries, coffee. It looked like something from a magazine. Dario poured her coffee, doctoring it with cream and sugar before she could say how she liked it. You take it sweet. I guessed. How did you? I notice things. Dario sat across from her. Like how you held your champagne glass last night. How you shifted your weight when Trevor talked. How your breath caught when I touched you. Maria's cheeks heated. That's creepy. That's survival. In my business, details matter. Dario's eyes locked on hers. So let's discuss details. Starting with who's threatening you. I don't know. That's the problem. Your ex. Maybe. Probably. He was furious last night. Trevor Ashford. Dario said the name like it tasted bad. Trust fund baby playing art dealer. He's got connections but no real power. The texts aren't his style. How do you know his style? I know everyone's style. It's my job. Dario leaned back. The texts are from someone with actual pull in the art world. Someone who doesn't like you getting close to me. Which means it's likely one of my business associates who thinks you're a liability. Maria's stomach clenched. What kind of liability? The kind where they think you might be undercover law enforcement. Or a journalist. Or just someone naive enough to cause problems. Dario's expression softened slightly. You're none of those things. But they don't know that yet. So what do? We convince them you're with me. Legitimately. Which means you need to be seen with me regularly for the next few weeks. Dinners, exhibitions, my world. Until everyone understands you're protected. Maria shook her head. I can't do that. I have a job, a life. You have a career that just became significantly more valuable because of me. Richard Castellano called me this morning. He wants to triple your salary and give you a partnership track. 3 gallery directors have asked for your consulting services. That kiss made you somebody. Or it made me your property. In some people's minds, yes. Dario's honesty was brutal. That's the reality of my world. But Maria, you're safer as my property than as nobody. Because the people who sent those texts, they hurt nobodies. They hesitate with people under my protection. Maria wanted to argue, but she couldn't deny the fear that had kept her awake all night. How long? A month? Maybe 2. Until things settle and people accept you're with me. Then we stage a quiet breakup, you keep the career boost, everyone moves on. And if I say no? Dario's jaw tightened. Then I can't protect you from whatever's coming. And something is definitely coming. As if on cue, Maria's phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. Ask him what happened to the last person who got too close. Maria showed it to Dario. His expression went dark. What did happen? Maria asked quietly. Nothing good. Dario stood, moving to the window. 5 years ago, a woman I was seeing got caught in the crossfire of a business dispute. She didn't understand the rules. Thought she could leverage her connection to me for personal gain. It ended badly. How badly? She's alive. Living in Prague under a different name. But she lost everything else. Dario turned to face Maria. I don't want that for you. Which is why we do this, right? You follow my rules, stay close, let me handle the threats. In return, you get a career and your safety. Maria's chest felt tight. This was insane. She should walk out right now. Call the police, maybe. Or a lawyer. Or her mother. But Dario was right about one thing. Someone was threatening her. And she didn't have the resources to handle it alone. 1 month, Maria said. Then we're done. 1 month. Dario's smile was genuine this time. Try not to fall in love with me before then. Not a problem. We'll see. The next week passed in a blur of expensive dinners and art world events. Dario was surprisingly good company when he wasn't being terrifying. He knew art history better than most curators. He could discuss technique and pigment composition and the politics of Renaissance patronage. And he was funny, which Maria hadn't expected. At a gallery opening in Chelsea, Dario pointed to an abstract canvas. What do you think? Maria studied it. It's trying too hard. The artist wants us to see chaos, but all I see is calculation. Exactly. Dario grinned. That's what I said to Richard last week. He insisted it was brilliant. Richard likes things that sell, not things that matter. You're going to be trouble for him. Dario's hand settled on her lower back, a gesture that had become familiar. I like that. The touching had become normal too. Dario was casually possessive in public, always keeping Maria close. His hand on her waist at dinners. His arm around her shoulders at exhibitions. It felt like a performance, but sometimes Maria forgot they were acting. Like the night they ended up at his warehouse in Red Hook. Dario had insisted she see his private collection. The warehouse was temperature-controlled and alarmed, full of crates and paintings and sculptures that definitely weren't obtained legally. This is insane, Maria breathed, moving through aisles of art. Some of these pieces are supposed to be lost. They were lost. I found them. Dario watched her with amusement. My grandfather started collecting in the 50s. He believed beautiful things deserved to be protected, even if the methods were questionable. Maria stopped in front of a small Renaissance panel painting. This is a Bellini. The Smithsonian has been looking for this for 30 years. I know. You can't keep it. I can't give it back without incriminating myself. So it stays here, where I can appreciate it. Dario moved closer. Does that make me evil? Keeping beauty locked away? Yes. Maria turned to face him. These pieces belong in museums. People should see them. People would just walk past them on phones. They wouldn't really see them. Dario's voice dropped. You see them. That's why I brought you here. They were standing very close now. Close enough that Maria could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. Close enough that she remembered how he'd kissed her that first night, thorough and claiming. I should go, Maria said, but she didn't move. You should. Dario's hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. But you won't. He was right. Maria stayed, letting him show her his grandfather's collection piece by piece. He told her stories about acquisitions, about the underground economy of art, about beauty and violence existing side by side. And Maria found herself listening, fascinated despite herself. Around midnight, they sat on the floor between crates, sharing takeout Chinese food like college kids. Dario had shed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves. Without the armor of expensive suits, he looked almost normal. Why art? Maria asked. If you were going to run a criminal enterprise, why this? My grandfather asked the same question when I took over. Dario smiled sadly. I told him beauty matters more than money. He didn't understand. He was practical. But I think art is the only thing worth stealing. The only thing worth protecting at any cost. Even if people can't see it. Especially then. Dario met her eyes. Some things are too precious to share. Maria's breath caught. They weren't talking about art anymore. Before she could respond, Dario's phone rang. He answered, his expression shifting immediately to business mode. He spoke rapid Italian, his voice hard. When he hung up, the softness was gone. Problem? Maria asked. Always. Dario stood, offering her his hand. Come on. I'm taking you home. In the car, Dario was tense and distant. Maria wanted to ask what was wrong, but his expression warned her off. When they reached her building, he walked her upstairs despite her protests. You don't have to do this every night, Maria said at her door. Yes, I do. Dario checked the hallway, the stairwell, even her apartment before leaving. Lock this behind me. If anything feels wrong, call me immediately. Dario, what's going on? Nothing you need to worry about yet. He touched her cheek briefly. Sleep well, Maria. But Maria couldn't sleep. Something had shifted tonight. The lines between performance and reality were blurring. And worse, Maria realized she was starting to care about Dario beyond the fake relationship. Which was exactly what she couldn't afford to do. The next morning, Maria went into the gallery early. She needed normalcy, routine. Richard was already there, looking stressed. Maria, thank God. We need to talk about the Caravaggio. Maria's stomach dropped. What about it? Trevor Ashford is claiming it's a forgery. He's hired his own experts, and they're questioning your authentication. If he's right, we're ruined. He's not right. I checked everything. Then you need to prove it. Publicly. Because Trevor is making noise to every collector in the city. Richard ran his hands through his hair. This is a nightmare. Maria spent the day pulling her research, double-checking her findings. The painting was real. She was certain. But Trevor's accusations were spreading. By afternoon, 3 clients had pulled out of potential deals. By evening, Maria's phone was full of calls from journalists asking for comment. She was still at the gallery at 9 p.m. when Dario walked in. You need better security, he said by way of greeting. I could have been anyone. I'm working. You're spiraling. Dario took the magnifying glass from her hand. Tell me what happened. Maria explained. Trevor's accusations. The expert challenges. The potential scandal. Dario listened without interrupting. When she finished, his expression was cold. Trevor needs to stop. He won't. He wants to destroy me. Then I'll destroy him first. No. Maria grabbed Dario's arm. You can't just threaten people every time I have a problem. Watch me. Dario pulled out his phone. Dario, please. Let me handle this professionally. If you interfere, it'll just confirm what Trevor's saying about me. Dario paused, studying her. What's he saying? That I slept my way to this job. That I'm with you for protection and connections, not because I'm qualified. Maria's voice cracked. That I'm a fraud. You're not a fraud. Then why do I feel like one? Maria sat down hard. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not good enough for this world. Dario crouched in front of her, his hands on her knees. Listen to me. You authenticated that Caravaggio perfectly. I had my own expert check your work. You were right about everything. Trevor is lying because he's bitter and small. Don't let him make you doubt yourself. Maria's eyes burned with unshed tears. How do you know I'm right? Because I know art. And I know you. Dario's thumb traced her cheekbone. You see things other people miss. That's your gift. Don't let anyone take it from you. Maria leaned forward, resting her forehead against Dario's. For a moment, they just breathed together. Then Dario stood, pulling her up with him. Come on. You're done here for tonight. Where are we going? Somewhere you can think clearly. They ended up at an all-night diner in Queens, surrounded by taxi drivers and night shift workers. No one looked twice at them. It was perfect. Dario ordered pancakes and coffee. Maria picked at French toast while Dario made her laugh with stories about terrible art forgeries he'd seen over the years. There was this one guy, Dario said, grinning. Tried to sell me a Michelangelo that was painted on canvas. Canvas. Michelangelo worked in fresco and marble. The guy couldn't even fake it right. Maria laughed despite herself. What did you do? I bought it anyway. Then I had it delivered to the cop who was investigating me at the time. Figured he could use a laugh. You're insane. I'm creative. There's a difference. Dario's smile faded. Maria, I need to tell you something. Maria's stomach clenched. That sounds ominous. Trevor's accusations aren't random. Someone's feeding him information. Someone with access to your work. What? Who? I don't know yet. But there's a leak in the gallery. Someone who doesn't want you to succeed. Dario's expression was grim. Which means this is bigger than Trevor being an ass. Someone's actively working against you. Maria's hands shook. Why? What did I do? You got close to me. And some people think that's dangerous. Dario reached across the table, taking her hand. I'm going to find out who. But Maria, you need to be careful. Don't trust anyone at the gallery until we know who's behind this. Even Richard. Especially Richard. He's the one who benefits most if your Caravaggio is proven fake. Maria pulled her hand away. You think Richard is setting me up? I think someone is. Richard, Trevor, one of the board members. Someone who sees you as a threat. Dario's voice softened. I won't let them win. I promise. Maria wanted to believe him. But trust was a currency she'd run out of. Over the next few days, paranoia became Maria's constant companion. She double-checked her work. Avoided conversations with colleagues. Jumped at every unexpected email. Trevor's accusations gained traction. Art blogs picked up the story. Gallery insiders started taking sides. And through it all, Dario was there. Not hovering, not smothering, just present. He sent lunch to the gallery when Maria forgot to eat. He called at night to make sure she'd gotten home safely. He showed up at 2 a.m. when Maria texted that she couldn't sleep, bringing terrible action movies and ice cream. You don't have to do this, Maria said one night, curled up on her couch while explosions played out on screen. Do what? Dario was sprawled in her armchair, looking absurdly large in her small apartment. Take care of me. This isn't real, remember? It's just for show. Dario was quiet for a long moment. Is it? Maria's heart stuttered. What? Is it just for show? Dario turned to look at her, his expression unreadable. Because it stopped feeling fake to me about 2 weeks ago. Maria couldn't breathe. Dario. Forget it. He stood abruptly. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. Wait. Maria scrambled up. Don't do that. Don't say something like that and then leave. What do you want me to say, Maria? That I'm falling for you. That I spend half my day thinking about you and the other half trying not to. That you've gotten under my skin in a way no one else has. Dario's voice was raw. Because all of that's true and it's terrifying. Maria stepped closer. Why terrifying? Because people I care about get hurt. Because my world is violent and complicated and you deserve better. Because I'm starting to think I'd burn down everything I've built if it meant keeping you safe. Dario ran his hands through his hair. So yes, it's terrifying. I'm scared too, Maria whispered. Of me. Of how much I'm starting to care about you. Of how normal this feels. Of how I'm supposed to walk away in 2 weeks and pretend none of this mattered. Maria's voice cracked. You were supposed to be pretend, Dario. You weren't supposed to be real. Dario closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands cupped her face, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. I'm very real. And so is this. He kissed her, and it was nothing like that first kiss at the gallery. This was slow and deep and devastating. Maria's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. Dario made a sound low in his throat, backing her against the wall. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dario pressed his forehead to hers. Tell me to leave. I can't. Maria. I know this is complicated. I know it's probably a terrible idea. But I can't tell you to leave because I don't want you to. Maria met his eyes. Stay. Dario stayed. They fell asleep on her couch, tangled together, the movie long forgotten. When Maria woke at dawn, Dario was watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. Morning, he said softly. Hi. Maria touched his face, tracing the scar through his eyebrow. How'd you get this? Bar fight when I was 20. Some guy didn't like that I was dating his ex-girlfriend. Dario smiled. I've always had a thing for complicated women. Is that what I am? Complicated? You're brilliant and stubborn and you see beauty in broken things. Yeah, you're complicated. Dario kissed her forehead. And I'm keeping you. Maria's phone shattered the moment. She grabbed it, seeing Richard's name. Hello. Maria, get to the gallery now. We have a problem. The line went dead. Maria looked at Dario, fear flooding back. Something's wrong. They drove to the gallery in tense silence. When they arrived, police cars were parked outside. Maria's stomach dropped. Dario's hand found hers as they walked in. Richard stood in the main exhibition room, talking to two detectives. When he saw Maria, his face was ashen. If you're already hooked and need to know what happens next, smash that like button and drop a fire emoji in the comments. Part 2 is coming and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Subscribe so you don't lose this story, because Maria's about to discover just how dangerous loving a mafia king really is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next.